Welcome to the Blind Apex Podcast, where amateur club racers tune in to get faster.
I'm your host, Con John Turk, and on this episode of the Blind Apex Podcast, we're going to talk about tracking motorcycles. Hunter, you can stop listening now. You don't need to listen to this podcast at all. This is one of the Instagram recommended topics, so I decided we'd bring it to life. I do actually read the comments. I don't just do giveaways and do check marks for you guys. But since I've never taken any of my motorcycles on track, joining me, probably the youngest guest to date, avid hiker, motorcycle racer, Mason Leuck. Welcome to the show.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, Little was the one that suggested that we do this topic, and I actually met with him today. We had lunch, and I dropped his winning skateboard off to him since Harrisonburg's only an hour or so away from my house. Okay. So I was down there, and I thought it was fitting. I was like, I'm dropping this off today. He was the one that said this topic. Whatever. We'll just drop it off and do this, and we're doing the podcast on the same day. So it's just everything's gelling today. So,
dang. Well, yeah, that's awesome. And Jacob's a great kid. So
yeah, he's a lot of fun. I hired him for some real work for my personal Instagram stuff and the race promotion stuff. So, I think it's at little media. I don't know. I'll put him somewhere in the notes somewhere, but he's a good dude. So, and the winner of the skateboard deck. So, Mason, let's get into your background a little bit. I've ridden hundreds of thousands of miles of motorcycle on the street, but I've never touched the track. So let's get your background in motorcycles in general.
So my parents put me on a little dirt bike. I think it was a Yamaha, like YZ50, whatever the tiny one is.
PW50.
That's for little kids.
Every one of us.
Yeah, the PW.
Everybody is on a PW for their first bike, I swear. Mm-hmm. It's the intro.
Yeah, no, my neighbors still have theirs.
I think I saw one in the Madison.
We still take it out every once in a while.
I saw one in the Madison Motorsports garage today. It's a PW50, or maybe it's an 80. Was it an 80? I don't know. Mm-hmm. Anyway, it was a little Yamaha with no engine no motor in it. So. Yeah,
they've been working on that. They had a Project 3-wheeler for a while, and I think unfortunately they got rid of it. But we've had a few wacky little vehicles.
I think 3-wheelers are safer than motorcycles are safer than 3-wheelers. Sorry.
Most certainly, yeah. Just because the tendency for the 3-wheeler to flip is a little bit higher than high-siding a bike.
Right. So you've been running motorcycles since you were a kid?
I mean, you could say that. I kind of took a hiatus. I was on the 50, and then, after I outgrew that, I was upgraded to like a little Honda with 3 gears and a clutch. And I rode that for a little while. I forget how old I was when I went on my hiatus, but, I kind of got out of that. And then, for a while, my family had a farm quad. Mm-hmm. We got one when I was like 14. So I think for like 8 years between when I was like 14 and 5, I guess, I wasn't riding at all. And then I got into quads, and then, for a while after that, it was just quads. And, after that, we got into, my dad had a Mustang. Mm-hmm. And that kind of is what piqued my interest in motorsports in general. We would ride around in that, and it was fun. We would go out and get ice cream in it, and he would, take it on back roads and really hammer down on it. And after that, he sold the Mustang, got a WRX, and around that time, I had finally saved up enough to get my own car, so I bought a 1989 Toyota Supra, and I built that, and we were like, hey, let's do a track day together in the cars. Long story short, my Supra eventually blew up. We ended up just taking the WRX and trading off, him and I. And then after that, he was like, okay, cars are kind of a pain. I'm going to sell that. I'm going to get a motorcycle again. And, I was like, darn, okay, well, I'm stuck with my Supra. Here's how it's going to be. He got a motorcycle. I eventually got rid of the Supra, got a 4Runner. No loss. And I had a little bit left over. And I was like, darn, motorcycles are really cool. I'm going to get my license so I can ride that with my dad and we can like bond over that. So I got back into motorcycles when I was like 16 and a half, 17.
Okay.
And I've been riding ever since.
All right. So when did you start tracking your bike?
So I started riding track motorcycles probably just when I had turned 17. Because for a while, my dad had his starter bike, and then he upgraded, and fortunately, I got to use his to learn on.
Right.
So I didn't have to like buy a starter bike. I kind of was able to segue into buying whatever I wanted. And I got a Ducati 848 as my first bike.
Okay.
So yeah, it's like a squid starting on an R6, but a little bit classier.
Way classier.
I really wanted a 916.
Of course.
But I couldn't afford one. Yeah. Because growing up, my neighbor had a 916. Okay. They still have it. One of the original model years. It's like very rare, very nice, beautiful color. And I would see that bike, and I'd be like, "Darn, I really want one of those." That's a beautiful, really cool motorcycle.
Is it yellow or red?
But
yellow. Okay, that's really rare to find.
It's yellow.
So.
Oh yeah, it's I forget what the model is called specifically. It's like it starts with a V, but it's like one of the hand-built models that I think it was MV Agusta.
Okay.
When Ducati was like first making that bike, MV Agusta's factory was used for that.
Okay.
But the 848 was close enough to the 916 for 17-year-old me.
Oh yeah.
So I went and it's just it's a crotch rocket. It's crazy.
Right.
So I got that, and my dad was like, "Hey man, we're gonna get you like proper education on how to ride a bike like this," and he sent me to training school, the Yamaha Champs riding school. So
okay,
I went to that, and that's where I learned to track a motorcycle.
Okay, awesome. So you got to do street and track sort of at the same time, right? I mean,
yes.
Close to each other. You probably did a little more street driving in the beginning, and then you started going to the track more often and doing these technical schools and things like that. So for an old head like me who has, thousands of miles on the street, how do I get into riding on track? Because I know I have really bad street habits. So
well, at least at its simplest form, if you wanted to go and ride your bike on a racetrack right now, do you have leathers at all?
I have upper half, lower half, not a full one piece.
It's a two-piece suit that like zips together. Well, you could throw that on right now and get one of your bikes. Either you could ride it to the track. I've seen people ride their bike to the track. You drop $200, ride your bike to the track if you so desire, and you could go right now. No experience needed.
Right. But okay, so let's compare the two, because you talked about going to HPDE. If I did that today, obviously I'm starting in the beginner group.
Yes. There's typically I go to N2 track days. They have beginner, intermediate, advanced. Unlike an HPDE, you're not going to have a coach riding with you, like on the bike with you. That would be weird. They kind of just float around on track, and they have hand signals that they'll describe to you, and classroom time in between sessions.
Okay.
So I feel like that's pretty similar to the car HPDE I went to, aside from the coach being in the car with you.
Yeah. In the automotive world, we call that lead follow. It sounds like you don't have one instructor per there, so it's not technically a lead follow, but there are some organizations that do it that way, where the instructor isn't actually in your car, they're just in a car on track, and usually they have flashers on or something, so you know which one's the instructor and which one to follow, kind of thing. But so okay, I'm one of, I don't know, a billion people in the world that own a motorcycle. I mean, everybody owns a motorcycle. I knew about tracking, right? But how did you learn about tracking, and how do people get more information about starting to get on track?
Fortunately, there's actually a pretty good amount of information out there for getting on track days. You can just Google, if you Google motorcycle track day and you take a look at the orgs, typically they'll have a pretty good amount of information, just listed on their websites. I know N2 has a pretty good amount of information on their site. And then they also host a few YouTube videos about what to expect on your first track day. And at least when I was starting to get into it, I know I watched those and they were pretty helpful.
Yeah. So okay. So you talked, I just need my motorcycle and my leathers, right? What if...
Right. You need safety equipment.
Okay, so let's go over all the safety equipment I need for my person.
Right. So you're going to need leather gloves. You typically want like the racing style. I've seen all sorts. You're going to want the racing style with, I prefer to have the pinky and the middle finger, or not pinky and middle finger, pinky and ring finger attached. I've wrecked in gloves like that. It makes a huge difference.
Okay.
That I wouldn't settle for any less. You're going to want a full one-piece leather suit. Two-piece works. You can pass tech with that. I prefer one piece.
Right.
You're going to want a helmet made within the last 5 years. You can't have an ADV helmet. You just need a regular, motorcycle. I think KYT makes a really good one. The NZ Race you can get for a pretty good price. But you can use the helmet you already have if it has been made in the last 5 years. You're going to need, motorcycle boots. Regular riding boots should work. The track style riding boots. If you get one of the ones that look like shoes, they're not going to let you out with that.
You need ankle coverage, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yes, ankle coverage.
Yeah. I mean, I learned my lesson. I wrecked on the street one time. On a blind hill, there was a bus. Anyway.
Oh my God! What? Yeah, would you go into that?
Yeah.
I'd like to hear about that.
I was leaving for work in the morning, squidding it up. I had a leather jacket on, my leather gloves with like carbon knuckles. I had probably my shark helmet on. Yeah, because I had to retire that helmet. So I had my shark helmet on, I had really good gloves on, I had a really nice jacket on, and then I had my dress slacks and my Cole Haan dress shoes on. And I turned left out of my driveway. It was a bunch of rolling hills. There was a school bus stopped and about 8 cars backed up, and I was doing the speed limit because I was on a old carbureted bike. A bike, I have no idea how many miles were on it because I put 2 engines in it and 3 clusters. So we just stopped counting. We just made it run. Right. And I crest the hill trying to get the carbs and the engine warmed up, so I'm just putzing around. And it was one of those hills where you sort of lose your stomach. And I came over the hill and realized I had maybe 50 feet to stop. And I went to grab brake. And it went on the front tire, and I jumped right off because there was no way I was going to be able to bring the rear of the bike down and stop. And I rolled just left of this Jeep Grand Cherokee as my motorcycle basically caved the back end in on it. So it was an old steel frame YZF 600, old school Yamaha life. Okay. So, Yeah. So, but I broke my toe.
Oh, just
I
broke
just
your toe,
broke my
nothing
toe.
else?
I mean, obviously I had rash on my leathers. I wore a hole in
Right.
I had like little abrasions. I was only doing 35 miles an hour. I had little abrasions on my
Okay.
like that ate through my pants on my legs, like really, really light road rash. I mean, a Band-Aid would cover it. It was so light, right? And then my gloves were a little chewed up. I probably threw them away, but this is why I don't believe in people who should have open face helmets, because the only mark on my Shark helmet was on my chin, like right there on the kisser.
Right.
And so
The chin bars make a huge difference.
absolutely, I see all those BMW guys strutting around, got their things all the way up and all. No. So that helmet got retired because of the kiss on the chin bar. So but I broke my little toe, the bone behind my little toe. So I learned that lesson. Mm-hmm. I changed backpacks. That was the other thing. I rode with a backpack. I still ride with a backpack. It doesn't bother me, but I know some people are anti-backpack because it could hurt your spine or how you roll, because rolling when you wreck is important and all that jazz. But
right.
yeah, I just bought a little bit bigger backpack with a separate shoe compartment so I could put my shoes in it, keep my laptop and stuff, all that jazz in the regular compartment. And I didn't even break my laptop. So,
Well, that's a plus.
Yeah, so work would have paid for it. It's fine. But, then I started wearing boots. Mm-hmm. So I still don't wear any pants, though. I just wear jeans on the street.
Sorry, you cut out.
Oh, yeah, I just wear jeans on the street. That's just how I roll. So.
Yeah, I know a lot of people who do that. They make Kevlar jeans. I would suggest wearing those if you're going to be doing trips where you're above 60 miles an hour. But if you're just putzing around town, like I commute to school on a bike on the regular, and typically I'll just wear jeans if I'm going to be keeping it below like 30. But I think at the end of the day, safety is pretty much paramount.
Yeah. So
on the bike,
it is. We're taking a risk. It's a riskier proposition commuting on a motorcycle than it is in a car. And the same is true on track, right?
Yes, I would definitely say that the risk on track compared to cars, from what I understand, is slightly higher on a motorcycle. And I think the riskiest thing you could do on a motorcycle is actually take it on street.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That's the riskiest place to be. Yeah. Trust me. I commuted in DC, in the DC area around the Washington, DC Beltway for years on my motorcycle. I saw people driving old Corvettes, reading a newspaper that was on their steering wheel.
Oh my gosh.
I was commuting when the Prius first came out, and every Prius driver was not looking ahead. They were looking at the center of their dash and playing with the pedals to try to get the number on the dash to go higher. They didn't care what was in front of them, what was behind them or around them. They were all trying to hypermile and learn how to do it. It was terrible.
Well, it's good to know that that's like been a thing, because I know even today, I know this is a little off topic, but the Prius C gets a ton of hate because they're like, typically the stereotype is that people behind the Prius C's wheel are just terrible drivers. They're fed up with their car and they just want to, get their gas mileage or whatever it is.
I've seen lots and lots of, I was next to somebody, sport bikes on the street. None of us have a stock exhaust, right? We have obnoxious stuff, Akrapovics, or, my broke self on my FZR had some eBay pipe, it fit, right. I just needed to.
My Ducati came with Termignonis.
See,
like it I didn't even have to do it.
So, they're loud, and I'm never in a gear. This is going to be bad advice, so don't take this as advice, but I'm always in a fairly low gear because the safest route, I would say 90% of the time, is to crack the throttle on a motorcycle on the street, because it's where our advantage lies versus most people. And in braking, they don't pay attention to you. They don't see your light. Your tail light is so small. So I was always in a lower gear, always sort of revved up. But still, they just merged into me. They just kept coming. I was knocking on the window with my carbon knuckles what seemed like forever to me, before they freaked out. And I was probably a foot away from a Jersey wall on my side, on my right side. They came from the left. So
with something like that, there's always the temptation to like mess with somebody or like tap them or, knock their mirror off. But what I'm scared of today is like, you never know what somebody's going to do. They could like freak out and swerve the wrong direction or something like that. I mean, a good piece of advice for riding on the street and even on the track is eyes. One of the people that has mentored me and coached me is always stressing, keep your eyes up and then scan back, because the farther ahead you see, the more you're able to process and the faster you can react. I'm sure, in cars on track, this is important too, but with your eyes, because the human brain is only wired, in a like evolutionary sense, we're wired to go about as fast as running speed and process everything at that speed. So you can only, receive so much information and process it at speeds higher than that. And as you increase speed, that amount of information that you're able to process decreases substantially.
Right. We can get into it later. There's definitely tactics that I learned on the street that have followed me to the track. And a lot of it has to do with your awareness level needs to be up and, looking for predictive stuff. So predictive behaviors. But I didn't want to get too far off of being on track. So we went over the gear. Helmet that's not 5 years old.
Yes.
Right. 5 years or newer.
Yes. The helmet is very important.
Yeah. I know they'll bounce you for that. I'd have to go buy a new one for me. Gloves. You have the more track version where the ring and the pinky are tied together. Back in my day. Go ahead. Yeah. So my roommate used to track his bike back in the day, and they required the gauntlets. So it couldn't be the stuff that ended at your wrist, had to overlap.
Oh, yeah. Gauntlet is a given.
It has to overlap your leather sleeves. And then obviously the 2-piece will pass, but it's not as good as a 1-piece. There is a potential for separation, especially over time, and you're not taking care of your gear or you don't notice that some things are coming loose. It's just a zipper, by the way, so it's really not that strong in the grand scheme of things for separating a 2-piece. And then what else? Oh, boots. So,
yep. You want the boots. They're going to overlap your leathers the same as the gloves.
Right. Yeah. I love my CDs. Not sponsored. They would never sponsor me for this stuff anyway. So, but I love them. They were great. I still own them, so still have them. So, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to add a side note for getting this gear. You can always buy used, but if you're going to buy used, don't buy it sight unseen. You always want to be able to try it on and inspect it for damages before you.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Because there's a possibility that they might be hiding damage or it might be fitted to somebody else, and you're just going to have a miserable time. Never buy used sight unseen.
Yeah, same for motorcycles, but the gear is important. So let's get in.
I think almost the gear is more important. You can fix a bike, but you can't fix yourself.
Yeah, well, you can't fix the gear. It would be a waste of money at that point. So back in the day, we used to have to show up and like tape over lights and tape over these things. Is that still the case when you show up with your motorcycle? What motorcycle prep do I need to do when we go to the track?
It depends on the track day org. Before I go, when I'm like riding on a street bike and I don't have my bike already safety wired and everything, because typically I'll just do a track day on my race bike. But I'm always going to check the torque on my axles.
Right.
That's important. Check the torque on your clip-ons if you have those, or your handlebars if you have handlebars, because you can, at a track day, you can take any bike. I've seen people rip around on GSs and they're going faster than everybody else. At the end of the day, it's up to the rider. But you're gonna, depending on the org, either have to tape your headlights, or if you've got an SV with a single headlight, you can just remove it. They're cool with that. And I can't stress this enough. You're going to want to make sure that your clip-ons have proper torque, because something might happen. I've seen people's clip-ons like shift, and that can cause issues.
Oh yeah. Here's another story for you. I hit a deer in my R6 one time.
Oh my gosh.
Leaving the same house in Oakton, about another quarter mile down the road, a deer, 2 or 3 deer jumped out in front of me. And I thought it jumped from an elevated hill over a fence onto the road, and it started to get onto the front fairing of my motorcycle, and I reached up in front and shoved it, and I thought I got it off before it broke too much stuff. And I went to grab the throttle, and it was dangling.
Yeah, that's like worst case scenario, because your brake is attached to that as well. Like, then at that point, you're going to be using your rear brake, which just isn't as good as the front.
No, I basically finagled enough oomph to get up, did a U-turn with one hand, went home. I lived on a gravel driveway with a gravel drive going into the garage, so you drag a lot of rear brake there anyway, so that part was pretty easy. But yeah, when you're clip-on brakes, life gets really complicated. So,
of course,
yeah. But that's essentially a nut and bolt check for a car, right? Are there any other? You talked about safety wire. If I go, next weekend, will I have to safety wire anything on my motorcycle for beginner group?
No. I would suggest safety wiring, like all your oil drain bolt and your oil fill, and maybe the filler cap on your radiator and your water pump drain. But you're not required to. Okay. I would just suggest those things, because if something were to go wrong, it's a lot easier for everybody else if you're not leaking oil on the track.
Oh yeah, to include yourself. So your rear tire is the first one to catch whatever's coming off that engine. So, but okay. So say I want to do this and I want to start racing. How do I start racing with motorcycles?
That's a bit more challenging than doing a track day. Okay. You're going to need to get a license through one of the racing orgs. At least for the East Coast, I know you can get in through CCS or WERA, and both of them have their own ways of getting licenses. I know for CCS license, I don't have one for CCS yet. I'm getting one this year, but a buddy of mine did it. They just went to a race school for a day, and they learned some typical on-track practices.
Right.
There was more coaching involved than a track day, and then they end the day with a mock race.
Yep.
And after that, it's like, hey man, you've got your license. And then to get his WERA license, he just emailed the WERA organization, and he was like, hey guys, I have my CCS license, but I want to race for WERA. Can I have a WERA license? And then you just pay the fee, and he got it. Yeah,
there's a reciprocity between some of the organizations. So, my roommate attended that CCS race school, and in the mock race, broke his collarbone. So,
no fun.
Yeah, I think some of the instructors decided to come out and play during the mock race, and they split him at VIR in the front, on the front straight in the kink. He picked his head up. Mm-hmm. This is that visual thing. You got to look where you want to go and look far enough ahead. He picked his head up, and he took the ride off track because he picked his head up in the kink. So at way over 120 miles an hour, I'm sure at that point. My car's at 120, so I'm sure the bikes are coming out faster. So,
Right.
yeah, ugly ride, broken collarbone, some other stuff. So,
Yeah. So continuing on the topic of racing, when you decide that you're going to be racing, you kind of have to make a plan of, like, first what you want to get out of it, and then what your level of commitment is going to be. I'm sure it's the same for car racing, but I wouldn't suggest just like going straight into it without a plan.
right.
I mean, it would honestly be very hard to do it without a plan, but, you know, say you're starting from ground zero and you have no bike, nothing at all.
Right.
I would honestly, like, if you are a beginner track day rider, I would go to a racing school, like not just like a licensing school, but an actual racing school, and just try and learn and do some track days and get your skills up a little bit, just so you're really comfortable on the bike for that environment.
Is the beginner race bike to have still the SV650?
I'm honestly not sure, because I own an SV650. That was my first track bike. But honestly, I'm seeing these ultra lightweight bikes, and I'm on an ultra lightweight bike for the endurance.
Is that the 300 or 400 cc bikes, sport bikes that are out now?
It's mostly the R3, the KTM 390, the RC 390, and the Kawasaki Ninja 400.
Right. Okay.
I think those are the big ones. But with those bikes, the reason I'm on that is for the Wera ultra lightweight endurance series that they do with N2, and we can get more into that later if you'd like to, because I personally am doing that just to get a lot of quality track time. But the SV650, you can find a built race bike for very inexpensive. But I think if I had to do it again, I'd just start on an R3.
Okay. And R3s brand new are pretty much a bargain, to be honest. Brand new from the factory.
You can get the 2015 ones so cheap.
Yeah. So was that like the first year of them? I can't remember when they came out.
I think they went from like 2012.
Okay.
I'm not sure. But they're great.
I mean, the last time I looked, they were like a sub $4,000 bike, brand new.
Yes.
So
starting this season, I ended up with, for the endurance ultra lightweight, I got an R3, and I thought I was going to run the whole season on that. I ended up switching bikes mid-season, but that's a story for another time. I got this R3 for $4,000. It had slight motor upgrades, full Öhlins suspension, Hendel exhaust, full body work. It was already done up. All I had to do was take it to Bobblehead Moto. I had him go through it, tune everything up for me. He got a little bit more power out of it, and it was ready to go for the race season. And it was very inexpensive.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane how cheap those bikes are these days. So for the price of a brand new out the door bike, you basically picked up a race bike fully upgraded. Now they had the bonus of probably selling off all the plastics and stuff and putting the shark skins on or whatever they were running. But it's still a bargain in the grand scheme of things. Like, you're not going to get a better deal than that. I don't think there's a comparable car that you can buy. Miatas are so expensive right now.
Yeah, Miatas are crazy right now. I mean, I'm thinking you could maybe find, if you know the right people, a Honda Fit, but you're still going to have to do a lot of work to that to get it track ready.
Yeah, you're going to have to know somebody, to be honest. I mean, we own a Honda Fit. It's not for the track, obviously. It's a super commuter. That's what they were built for in the first place. But I mean, you're talking about $5,000 probably for a good, even a high mileage, but a good, clean, not so jacked up looking one. And then you need 1,500 minimum in the suspension, probably 2,000.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're at 7, and then if you get serious and you want to try to eke all the little power you can get out of a 1.5 liter and, maybe some safety equipment, the bill just gets higher and higher and higher. So,
right. I mean, once you throw in tires and transportation costs for that, for like say 3 races, if I'm doing the math right in my head, I mean that ends up becoming about the same price as my entire season last season.
Okay, all right. Do we want to get into that? Because I want to know. I'm intrigued because in a sort of back and forth, prior to this and on Instagram, you said that bikes were cheaper.
I think that they are cheaper. I don't know if they're cheaper once you add everything up. But at least for me and what I'm capable of affording, they are less expensive.
Okay.
At least outright. With the 400, I did the whole season on 8 sets of tires.
Okay.
And that was like reusing tires from track days and everything else. Actually, I'm going to say 10. I didn't really keep count, but I have them all in my room at home. I could go and count later if you want me to.
No, you're good. I mean, eight sets. I mean, that's only 16 tires. I'm sure. I don't know what they're costing these days, and it's not the same size as what I was running or what I have for my 600cc bikes. So the price might be a little off. But when my roommate was racing, we owned a tire changer because he was on a 600, but we would change tires Saturday night so he could go back on Sunday because he would burn down a set in one day. So I don't know if that's still true or that's true for you guys, but he definitely was.
Well, it depends on what bike you're on because the more powerful your bike, the quicker you're going to burn through tires. Okay. With a 400 on a set of tires, I'm probably going to get 3 to 4 track days out of that one set of tires. And then I'll do an endurance race on a fresh set of tires. And then I'm still good for like probably 1 or 2 track days, depending on the track conditions at the endurance race and how much tire wear I incur.
Oh, okay. That's not bad. That seems pretty cheap.
No, it's awesome on tires. I mean, the SV650 is easy on tires too, but the 400 is great, and it's so light and nimble. And at least on the Ninja, that the engine is hopped up a little bit. I mean, I'm keeping up with stock SV650s in the straight up to a point.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, so that's good. It's hard to compare, right? Because you're comparing an ultralight motorcycle to whatever kind of car we want to compare it to, Right. What are your track days normally costing you?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, that's fine. How much does it cost for a track day?
Track day entry, the cheapest I've seen is 180. It's typically like 180 to 225. If I'm not buying tires, then of course I'm not going to account for that.
Right.
And then on a typical track day, I'll have a 5-gallon jug of fuel, super, and depending on the track, I'll go through, 2/3 to the whole thing.
So you fill up your tank and then you bring an extra 5.
Yes. Okay. I'll bring an extra 5. More if it's going to be like a longer track.
Okay.
Fuel consumption isn't crazy on the bikes. When on a typical track day, with the way the sessions are broken down, you're getting about 2 hours of track time.
Okay. And that's just the normal day, not the enduro, right?
No, that's just a normal, 20-minute sessions track day.
Okay. And then do you know what your tires sets are costing you?
So I have an expense sheet that I made that's kind of an estimate.
Okay.
And for a tire set, Here, wait. I'm actually just going to Google the cost of slicks right now because it fluctuates. I have it down as $350, but I'm not sure if that's accurate. Because I can give you a proper number right now.
Okay.
So the KR451, this isn't the size that I'm using, but it's comparable. The KR451, which is like their current slick, you can get new from Dunlop for, I think, 160 to. No, that can't be right.
It's got to be a 160 for the front, maybe.
Yeah. On their site, it says from 145, and this is the Dunlop Racing site.
Okay. That's still cheaper. I couldn't get one tire for 145. So. Yeah.
Okay. So if you're on a bigger bike, it's going to cost you more in terms of tires. Okay. So I just set it out. 350 is correct for a set.
Okay. I mean, that's not too bad. You're paying, say, $225, and then what's 5 gallons of premium these days? $25 maybe, plus what's in your tank.
You got to count food into that too.
Oh yeah, I mean, we could get into all that, but we're all eating. We're eating. You're eating. I was just trying to. I consume 5 gallons in half a day, like easily. I start with a full tank of gas and then start throwing 5 gallons at it all the time. So, and 350. I don't know, 350. I just bought tires, so I should know this. Yeah, 350 is about a tire and a half for me, but I need 4 and you need 2. So your track day entry fee is significantly cheaper. I mean,
it's definitely like a lot more freestyle for the track day as well.
Oh, how the track days are set up.
I would say, yeah, there's a bit less structure, which is a good thing and a bad thing. At least from my HPDE experience, it was very structured and very strict. But at a motorcycle track day, you show up there, they brief you, and then you go out on track with these coaches. But a novice rider can show up and it's their first track day, and unless they really go out and seek that help and they're eager to learn, they're kind of going to be learning it themselves.
Yeah. There's a lot of track days that are kind of like that too. Once they sign you off solo, you have to look for yourself. So they get you, they basically teach you how to get around the track. And then once you prove you can consistently get around the track the same way, they're going to kind of let you go. And then you have to figure out a lot of stuff. So networking is big. So,
well, I guess it's kind of the same there.
A little bit. They do hold your hand a lot when you're in the beginner group, but like you said, you're not riding 2 up. I'm not riding 2 up with a beginner. That's for sure. Right. Like nobody.
Right. No, I'm not going to ride 2 up with a beginner.
Yeah. The passenger seat's dangerous enough in some respects when you're talking about being an instructor for HPDE. So I'm definitely not sitting on the back. So,
right.
So let's talk a little bit about this bike versus car on track. Okay. Obviously they would never be on the track at the same time, but from
unless you're in Germany.
Yeah.
I know they do that at the
they do that at the Nürburgring, and I get really cringy when I see the videos and the bikes like go flying by. I'm like, oh man. Cause I see a lot. I take joy in watching the Nürburgring like oops compilations. So, when they bin their GT3 Porsche and their, BMW M4 hits the wall or something, I enjoy watching that for some reason. I don't know why.
Some sort of sick, twisted mindset you got.
Yeah,
there,
but then when you see like the hot laps, but then you see the motorcycle fly past the hot lap guy, and you're going, what if one of these guys wrecks into this guy? but that has nothing. I mean, you have something. You have your helmet and your leathers and your gloves and your boots, right? But that's not a lot.
And an airbag.
Oh.
The airbag is important too.
Let's talk about this airbag thing, because
the airbag.
Do you have an airbag? Do you race with an airbag?
Always.
Okay.
I should have mentioned it earlier, but we didn't really get into it because, I mean, at the bare minimum, you're going to have your leathers and gloves. That's what you need. I got to suggest the airbag. I use an Alpenstars Tech Air Race because it's what I've had for the past 3 years, and it's been great. I've serviced it, kept it up, and I think it has kept me out of the hospital quite well. I know Bison has an integrated Helite vest into their suits now, and they've tested that. It does a similar thing. The idea is for it to like inflate and really support your spine and your neck in the event of a crash. That's the biggest job it's going to do. And I think it's great to have because, you know, that's a very important part of your body that you don't want to damage.
Not at all. Yeah, you want to be able to walk and run and do all those things again, right? Like, so is the airbag? The airbag's new, right? I'm an old fuddy-duddy. It's been 10, 15 years since I looked into this kind of stuff. Did that replace the back protector? Because I know a lot of guys used to ride with back protectors.
I still see people wearing back protectors. The back protector is alive and well.
Okay.
The airbag has a back protector integrated into it. So I think it's CE level 2 or CE level 3, depending on what you have. But it kind of fits on you like a back protector, except it has a computer in it and some really highly compressed gas. And then it's got sensors. So it's constantly scanning. If it notices that you've gone off the bike in one way or another, it is very quick. It's like, boom, and it just goes off. It feels like getting punched in the chest, and you know, you feel very safe.
Okay. So how many times have you gone off?
I have fallen off of a motorcycle 3 times, and every single time has been on track. The first time I went off was turn 1 at Road Atlanta almost 2 years ago now. I was on my SV650 and I had low-sided it. I think it was a skill issue. I've been told that the front suspension had some really messed up springs in it, and that might be why. I still think it was a skill issue. I learned a lot from that wreck, and I'm going to attest to that. It's part of like why I've been so driven to improve. Mm-hmm. But the airbag went off. I hit the gravel, flipped like 3 times, and I got up and I was able to be like really pissed off. I'm like, damn, I just ruined my bike, and you know, there goes the rest of my day and the next day too.
Yeah, I mean, when you can get up and be angry that your bike is messed up, that's a good way to mm-hmm. be. At least you're not being flown out and stuff. So,
right.
Okay. Yeah. So you've been off 2 other times.
Yes. I'm going to save the best one for last.
Okay.
Because that one's actually on video. If you I didn't get it on video. It's like it's all cinematic and stuff because Intu and Wira were doing like videos for their races and they captured that. But you know, I went off one time. The airbag doesn't go off if you're under, I think, 35 miles an hour, at least for the one that I have. So, you know, turn 1, Summit Point, I'm going in, qualifying for an endurance race. They do it the day before now, fortunately, instead of the morning before. And I'm really cooking into turn 1, and I was just focusing on my braking, and I forgot that there were braking bumps closer to like the inside, right on the line. I hit the braking bumps, and the front had bottomed out because of how hard I was braking, and the bike just popped up and like slid out from under me, and the airbag doesn't go off at that speed. So I was able to get the bike back up, fix it, and get it going. And I placed 8th the next day in the race, which was fantastic. The airbag didn't go off, so I was able to like continue using it. Didn't spend that money.
Good. Awesome. You going to tell the best for last, or we're going to save that for later?
Yeah. I think we can. It might lead into another topic, so I'm not sure.
Okay. So you just said something that I wanted to talk about. Okay. Because the difference between the car and the bike on track, the car wouldn't care about those brake bumps, right? Let's keep using Summit Point because I know Summit Point very well.
That's my home track. I know it well too. So
so you were turn 1 on the outside, or inside?
I was turn 1 crossing over. At Summit Point, I'm braking in between the 3 board and the 2 board on the 400. Okay. And I'm like, I trail brake for a little bit, and then as soon as I get off my maximum brake pressure right there, I'm kind of starting to add some input and like lean the bike in.
Okay.
So I'd say I was almost to the curbing where I apexed there.
Okay. So I'm trying to think of other places that'll be completely different, right? Did you do any HPDEs at Summit Point?
I have not done one on Summit Point, Maine. I've done one on Summit Point, Shenandoah.
Okay. So turn 3 is puzzling to me because in the cars, we eat so much inside curbing at Summit Point that you guys, well, it's a little smooth, but I doubt you could mount the curbing, right? Because you should be bent all the way in.
Well, what do you mean by mount the curbing? Like get my wheels up on it? I'm not getting my wheels up on it, but I know when I do when I do a great job through turn 3 at Summit Point, I'm actually like lifting my knee up a little bit, because if I don't, I'm going to like really tap that curbing, and it's kind of rough. It's smoother than most places, but it's still a little bit rougher than the asphalt surface.
Right. So you would bang your pucks against your knee pucks against the curbing.
Yes. The idea is to get as close as you can without getting your wheels on that.
Okay.
Because if you tap that curbing on the bike, it's really going to unsettle it. It is savable, but it's not something you want to be doing on the regular.
No, because the exit ride out is through gravel. Like,
yes,
if you have to save it and you're off track, you're way track right in the gravel to save it. So, I mean, that's the same way in the car. So,
yeah, the line that you're taking through there too, on the bike, you know, you're very close, because sometimes you'll like run out, because that paint striping on the right side of the track on the exit of 3 is flat. So you're going over that in some cases, and then it's kind of a straight shot into 4, which is like no brakes through there. And again, like knee over the curbing.
Oh, you guys don't use brakes to go into 4?
Not on the 400. Oh, no. Honestly, like ideally you're going to be almost flat out still accelerating through there. You can breathe it a little bit, but you're really cooking through there.
I mean, you are in the car too, but I don't brake, but sometimes I have. I've been through almost flat before, but scared the Jesus out of me. and like the tires had to be just right, like everything had to be just right to get it even close to that. So, how do you guys take the carousel?
Do you want me to like run you through from turn 5?
Yeah. Run me from turn 5 through 9, because 9 is the biggest question mark for me on the whole track.
9. Okay. So through turn 5, I mean, of course, you're going to be braking super hard into there. You don't want to go too far to the outside of 5, but you know, it starts in turn 4. You want to apex almost, you know, you want to carry your speed through there, but you almost want to apex later, so it's easier to get as far track right on the entry of 5 as you can.
Okay.
At least with the bike, you're going to brake pretty hard in there. And then it's sort of like a pretty balanced, like middle 50-50 apex corner, but you want to move that forward almost like a late apex. Almost, but not really. And, you come out of there flat out. You're going to do a little bit of brakes into turn 6 just for, steering geometry.
Yeah, maintenance.
Mm-hmm. And then from the apex of 6 out, you're going to be on the side of the tire, accelerating and just really managing your throttle to get through there. And, if you do it right, your knee's going to be down the whole way on the 400. And then, once you're lined up right for 7 and 8 and then 9, you just hammer down, maybe breathe it for transitions on like it's really quick through there.
Do you breathe?
A lot of bar pressure.
Do you breathe to get from 6 to 7, or is it one big arc for you?
I'm like thinking about it in my head.
So steering input in the car, we leave it alone, but I usually have to breathe off or shift for 7, and that helps me rotate the car to set me up for 8. And in turn 8, I'm all over the curbs in turn 8 on the inside, so I'm sure you're not there either.
Yeah, no, I mean, you kind of want to get your knee over the curb there. You kind of get through 7, early apex on 7, and then you shift in the middle between 7 and 8. It's still flat out. Bar pressure, just try and get as close to that curbing as possible. You go about mid-track on the bike. And then, I mean, from there, turn 9 is also flat out. You just need to get the bike leaned over in time, and it'll really throw you out wide, but you'll make it through turn 9.
Yeah, but do you guys hit the dip in turn 9?
The dip.
There's a divot.
The little bit like near the apex. I honestly, I don't think I noticed it too much. Okay. I wouldn't say it's a serious effect thing. I haven't put much mind to it. So
okay, to me,
I'm sorry. I don't know that's probably not what you wanted to hear, but
yeah, I mean, whatever. If you don't, if you don't pay attention to it, you don't pay attention to it. To me, I just think on the bike, the way I know it can upset the rear wheel drive cars. And it could just be how your bike is set up that it's just soaking it up and you don't really notice. Yeah. I mean, it just seems like it would be a bad place to be on a bike, but if you're not noticing it, then maybe it's not that bad. But
no,
I think the main takeaway that I'm hearing is the entry is a little different for things, and you guys don't use curbing. So where we don't come all the way to the right or as far right as we can for turn 5. We sort of cheat halfway through the track and then cut in. And really turn 5 defines how well your car's set up, because if it's not turning well there, you fight the car to get through 6 and 7.
Right.
It just, the perspective of how to take a track on the bike versus on the car seems very different but from what you're explaining to me, because of the way the pitch and yaw of a bike, it's a little bit different on entry, and you guys don't use curbing, but that's about it seems like.
I mean, at the end of the day, we're all trying to do the same thing. It's just, take the best line through and maximize the traction that you have and, get close to that limit.
Yeah, it just seems, yeah. I just thought the bikes would be taking very different entries, but I think because of the way you can manipulate them, maybe not.
It's kind of similar. I mean, think of the lean on a bike like the steering of a car.
Right. Yeah.
A big difference between the bike and the car is you can't really understeer. If that happens, the bike's going to hit the ground.
Right.
I mean, you can push the front a little bit, like the pros, like Blake Davis. You'll see like the front is almost pushing on the bike as they accelerate out of some corners, but that takes so much finesse and skill. You've got to be like on another level to do that.
I mean, that's why they're professionals, right? So,
right.
Okay. Yeah, I just thought maybe that would be, maybe things will translate better. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about what you think on a motorcycle translates, whether it's street or on the track, translates to being on track in a car. I
think the biggest translator is trail braking.
Okay.
Definitely trail braking, because I don't know a whole lot about the suspension geometry on cars. I'm not going to pretend that I do. But at least on a motorcycle, when you're trail braking, you're going to hit the big brake pressure, and then you're going to let off to basically get the front forks to this sweet spot of about 100 millimeters on most bikes, where the bike is going to just really settle in and turn the best that it possibly can. It shortens your wheelbase a little bit, and, it just feels awesome. So learning to trail brake properly on a bike is just so important to getting through corners properly. It's the safest way to do it. It works the tires the best way. And then that translates into cars very well.
Yeah. And it happens to be what I suck at. So maybe I need to dust off a bike and start going to track days. We do have a track bike sitting in the garage collecting dust for no reason. So.
Oh, really? What is it?
It's a 2000 Yamaha R6.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Those are fun. Really fun.
Yeah. My actual street bike is a 99 that was a race bike that had a clean title. So I put all the race stuff except for the forks and the shock on it. But it has like a built engine, transmission, all this crazy stuff. And I street drove it forever.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah.
Well, that's the way to do it. You got a little crotch rocket on the street.
Oh, yeah. She's a lot of fun. Was a lot of fun. I haven't taken it out in a long time. But I think, at least for me on the street, learning people's behavior and being able to predict what people are doing in front of me. Because we talked about that vision, right, earlier, where you have to look ahead and you have to know where everybody is. That's a huge deal on track, knowing where everyone is in front of you and sort of being able to anticipate what they're going to do. If you can't do that on a motorcycle on the street, you're going to get run over.
Right.
And on track, it really helps you miss some things. Like I missed a huge wreck at the checkered flag at Summit Point coming out of turn 10. I saw them. I was coming down the chute, through turn 4, and it was two Miatas that I knew were in the lead, and the Spec 3, I don't know where he was in the group, but he wasn't in the lead. He was somewhere in the back, but for whatever reason, he was not giving up his position to these two Miatas that were racing, and they were...
Was he blue flagged?
Oh, yeah, but they don't... You think they look at flags? Come on, man. I think vision and awareness is really bad everywhere. Mm-hmm. And it's part of the reason they're going to push for these electronic flagging systems in the cars. But anyway, I'm like, well, nobody's behind me. Nobody's in my class is going to pass me. I'm just going to hang out because these two Miatas are scrapping and that E30 is not giving up his position. So fast forward to turn 10, both Miatas bump up from 9 to 10, get around this guy, go to the inside of 10. He gives him the inside of 10, but not by very much, right? He was like, well, the rule book says 3/4 of a car width, and that's what I'm giving you. And that's what they'll take. They will take it, right? Well, they come out of turn 10 still bumping, right? The Miatas are still bumping each other, and the Spec E30 comes right across the back end of the Miata as he's bumping the guy in front of him and spins him and took out the first two Miatas.
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Excuse
No,
my
you're
language.
good. Yeah, takes them out as they're like dancing across the finish line. They finished, I don't know whether they finished 1 and 2 because they didn't end up in the wall. They just ended up spinning through the grass and didn't get into the embankment. But
Okay, well, that's good.
timing and scoring had to figure out which one crossed the line because they had to use the old ticker tape, you know, where they're writing the numbers down because they weren't back on the pavement yet. And I was just hanging
Right.
out watching it all. Like I came in, I went to tech and handed in my video and said, this is what happened. Right. So being able to anticipate
that you
that,
got
I was
footage.
like, yep, I'm done. I don't need to get into this. Like I could have overtaken all of them. I could have bullied all of them. Right. My car has power, but I was like, no, I'm just going to hang out here because, and give space. Right. So,
Right.
and
It's keeping that cool too. That like you were mentioning that you decided to give them space, even though you could have gotten past them and been behind them. I think that mentality is very important for having a longer career on the track and knowing when to, back off and when that's like not your fight.
well, that's really big in a motorcycle because getting into someplace you're not supposed to be on a bike. I mean, the best case is you low side and slide through the grass, right? Worst case is you high side or end up in a gap in the air fence or wherever, because you never know where you're going to end up. So
yeah, on that note, actually, we're going to get into my second chronological wreck, but the third one that I'm going to mention today. This is, about like, high sides, that kind of stuff. I think that it's very important that people, leave some segue on bikes when they're passing because, those cars were able to have contact with each other. They were bumping that entire lap from the way that you described it. But on a bike, you can't just like, they say rubbing's racing, and to a point on bikes, that's kind of true, but there's very specific areas on a bike where that's like a big no-no zone where if you touch that, somebody's going to end up somewhere that they're not supposed to be, front wheel on rear wheel. The rear wheel is always going to win. That's under power. Bad wrecks have happened from contact there. And then, I was second round of the endurance series at CMP. I was, I think in 13th, I don't remember, but, there's a lot of lapping going on in these endurance races, especially when like the guys in front are just ridiculously good. And, there's a lot of talent there. So these guys are lapping you 2-3 times, maybe more throughout the race. And the guy who was in first just went by me, didn't leave enough room. It was a little too close. His handlebar hit my handlebar and, my bike got wrenched the wrong way and that became a high side and I just got launched. And he was able to keep his bike upright. He ended up riding off track and he had to put it down to keep it from hitting a wall. But, contact like that in bikes just won't happen.
Right. I mean, the open wheel guys have that problem too, the wheel touching thing. But being pinched and stuff in a motorcycle is even worse probably. So,
it wasn't very fun. I heard.
yeah, I'm sure. Did you touch the air fence?
No, it was, I forget what turn number it is, but, there's that big straight at CMP and then you go through the kink and then you go through the left-hander after that. It was the straight between that left-hander and that big sweeping right before, turn 14. Okay. But no, I got hit and like launched diagonally and I was just in the grass rolling over myself so many times. And, I think it's thanks to like my airbag and my gloves and boots that nothing was seriously wrong.
Yeah, I'm sure you were bruised pretty good though.
Oh yeah. I was limping for a while. I had to go to physical therapy after because I like pinched a nerve or something in one of my legs and I couldn't like feel my foot.
Oh,
So,
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild. We don't do that in the cars, but we either walk away or we don't. There's, you know, I talked with Carter Hunt. He was in the E30. He got caught at VIR with that new wall at the back, off the back straight, demolished his car. His bell was rung, like real bad.
Oh yeah.
But he was up walking around. The car's totaled, his cage deformed. That's how hard he hit.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But
dang.
Have you been to VIR?
I have been to VIR twice. I've been to VIR twice. Once I was visiting because when they used to host the Moto America races there, I would go with my neighbor and my family, and we would all like go and watch the race. And then the second time I was there, we all went down, and I actually was fortunate enough to work pits there for Michael Haynow when he was running Twin Series for Moto America. So that was just a fantastic experience, and I got to learn so much.
But you haven't raced it yet?
Okay. No, never been on it.
There's a wall in the back straight.
I would love to
terrible.
go there.
Do not let your brakes fail. I don't even want to know.
They are important.
I don't even know what they would do. They must have the biggest air wall for you guys in the back straight.
I guess. I'm not sure. I really haven't like looked into it that much.
Yeah. Do you have any other skills you think that would translate?
I mean, the eyes, we had mentioned that earlier, but using your eyes like to where you want to go. But I think the biggest difference between a motorcycle and a car is that you yourself are like a counterweight on that bike. And I don't know of any car that like is readily available for everybody that like they could just have a counterweight that counterbalances for that. You know, you're so involved in the movement of the vehicle that like that's the biggest difference.
I know the karting guys like to throw their weight around in carts, but there's no way you can do it in a race car. So
no. Yeah, I think the eyes maybe throttle control, but that's still like in your hand. I think the brakes and the eyes are the biggest like translators.
Okay. Awesome. You said you had some other stuff. Do you have anything that we missed that we should cover?
Let me, I have so much. I mean, like it's not enough that we could cover it in one episode. No, I think we're pretty good. Okay. Yeah. I mean, thank you so much for having this conversation with me, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
You know, I had fun talking.
Awesome. I know you mentioned a project at school that you're doing related to motorcycles. Would you like to explain that a little bit before we close up?
Yeah. So through the Center for Entrepreneurship at the school, I'm kind of like trying to work on a project. I'm not sure if it's going to be like a website or a YouTube series, but I'd like to try and, you know, make motorcycle track riding and motorcycle safety like something that's kind of cool and trendy, you know, because I see a lot of these videos online where people are like, yeah, man, I love speeding on the highway with my boys. And it's like, okay, that's not the coolest thing in the world. Like, why don't you go do that on track and, you know, work on your skills and, you know, build life skills, get fit and, you know, just build that community up instead of, you know, putting yourselves and others at risk.
Yeah, I think that's admirable, especially for your age, because when I was your age, I was still one of those people goofing off a lot. Even on my bike, even into adulthood, it's easy to do because the power to weight of a motorcycle is ridiculous. Even the slower stuff. So the temptation is always there, but
I mean, if you're riding around on a sport bike, of course you're gonna, wick it open every once in a while and enjoy the handling capabilities of the bike, and I think that's perfectly fine. But the trends nowadays are like, oh, it's cool to lane split at 100 miles an hour, that kind of stuff. That's different from getting a little happy on the back roads.
Right. Yeah, well, I can't say. We used to do these things called hooligan rides, and so life was a little crazy back then. But I'm older and wiser, and I think it's better to focus in a place where you can learn skills in a safer environment. I've been that way with a car for a long time, but for whatever reason, I've been so stubborn with a motorcycle. So anyway,
I mean, it's just the way things are.
It is. I mean, you can't own something that can outrun most supercars and then not give it a whack every now and then. So,
oh yeah, and that's perfectly reasonable.
Well, we say that, but it's not advice
until it isn't.
And so that's the problem. So, anyway, I think that's going to be an awesome, admirable project. If you need any help, publicity, whatever, I say we make Little do some videos for you, and I'll help any way I can.
Oh, well, I really appreciate it, and thank you so much. I mean, this has been a great experience, and I'll be sure to reach out.
Yeah, man.
Until next time, keep working on yourself, keep working on the car, and let's get faster.